Jagannath. Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the call, Mataji, and happy Diwali to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore. Happy Diwali to everybody.
Hare Krishna Netu Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Happy Diwali, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji. Dandot pranams to you. Dandot pranams to all devotees here. Happy Diwali to all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sumi from Jersey City.
Hare Krishna Swami Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for the beautiful recitation of chapter 15. Thank you so much. Welcome to the call. Happy Diwali to you too, Mataji. Welcome to the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasini Devi Dasi from Atlanta. Thank you, Sumi Mataji, for that very beautiful recitation of the Bhagavad Gita. And thank you, Sushmita Mataji, for your sweet and warm welcoming.
Hare Krishna Priti Vilasini Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to all your wonderful services, Mataji. Thank you so much for joining the call. Welcome to the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. This is Cinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi from Charlotte, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Gurudev. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so
I'm
much.
going to get some praise from there.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Welcome to the call, Mataji. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your association. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call today. Today we are so fortunate to have Her Grace Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji to enlighten us on the topic of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata Madhya Khanda, 16th chapter and text 143 to 152. Before handovering the call to Mataji, I would like to read today's quote of Srila Prabhupada. So today is 31st October. When pregnancy fails, it is due to the weakness of the male partner generally. Similarly, if we are full with Krishna vitality, then wherever we go, the audience will be impregnated with Krishna consciousness. Letter to Swaswarupa, October 31st, 1969. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Once again, I want to welcome you to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. And thank you so much, Mataji, for your valuable time and association to us this mid-morning. And I will hand over the call to you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji. Thank you so much. And my respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Please bless me that I speak something which is pleasing to all of you and totally relevant and totally in accord with Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev's words. Nothing from my mental concoction should arise. This blessing is very important for me. Start with the prayers. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्यम् ईश्वरं हरिः ओं तत्सत् Hare Krishna Mataji's. So we are in this beautiful section of Shuklambar Brahmachari, and yesterday we had an amazing class. So this Shuklambar Brahmachari is a very poor brahmachari living in Navadvip. He begs around 10 houses every day, and whatever he gets, he cooks in that, offers to Krishna and eats. So this is his external. His internal, he's always thinking of Krishna, always chanting the Lord's name. And this is the true Shuklambar Brahmachari. And he was so elevated that Mahaprabhu allows him to be a part of his nocturnal Sankirtan. And Shuklambar Brahmachari sees Mahaprabhu dancing and gets into ecstasy. And he also dances with his bag on his shoulder. He's dancing in ecstasy. And Mahaprabhu at that time snatches his bag, takes handful of rice and eats it. At that moment, Shuklambar Brahmachari becomes very sad. He says, "No, Mahaprabhu, this rice does not befit you. It is broken rice and it is not even cooked. Please don't take it." But Mahaprabhu talks so beautifully and he says, "No, you have always offered me this kind of offerings and I have always accepted it." And everyone is, and yesterday we learned how actually we are supposed to offer to the Supreme Lord. How is it that he accepts offering? So many mudras are needed. It is a big procedure in which offering is done. And in the end, Mataji so very nicely, she said, though this is a procedure, but still our Supreme Lord, he accepts what is given only with love. And she said the words, the main thing is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So today we see how our Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada has glorified that verse. So it is a continuation of yesterday's class. We'll start from text 143 today. Shuklambar Tandula Tahara Paramana Ataiva Sakala Vidhira Bhakti Prana. The acceptance of Shuklambara's rice is the proof of this. Therefore, devotion is the life of all rules. Proof of what? That's the previous sentence, previous verse, which says, the Lord does not accept anything unless it is offered according to those rules, but he breaks all those injunctions for the sake of his devotees. So, Shuklambar Brahmachari is an example of this pastime. Yata vidhi nishedha sakala bhakti dasa ihate yahara dukha sehiya nasha. All rules and regulations are servants of devotional service. One who is distressed because of this is vanquished. Vedavyasa has stated that devotion is the root of all rules, and Gauranga has directly demonstrated this. And we'll read, this is a beautiful purport by Saraswati Prabhupada. We'll read this purport and we'll learn what he's saying here. In the Padma Purana, it is stated, Smartavya Satatam Vishnur Vismartavya na Jatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nishedasyor Etayoreva Kinkaraha. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. We will learn more about this verse in detail. We'll finish off Prabhupada Saraswati's purport. Sri Gaurasundara's pastime of accepting Shuklambara's rice out of love without considering whether the rice was parboiled or raw and ignoring the rules for proper offering is the ultimate goal for persons who are on the path of Archana and who follow the path of regulative devotional service based on the Pancharatras. So that is the ultimate goal of perfection. All Vedic rules and regulations are simply favorable attempts towards devotional service, and therefore, since the devotees on the path of Anuraga, attachment, are situated thousands of miles beyond unfavorable attempts, they never transgress the path of Vidhi or regulative principles. Rather, they constantly remain on the path of Anuraga while following the regulative principles in the course of their service to Krishna. So this is such a beautiful statement which Prabhupada Saraswati has made. He says, all the Vedic rules and regulations which are there, they are there just to make devotional service favorable. That is all. The rules and regulations are there just to make devotional service favorable. And now, devotees like Shuklambar Brahmachari, who are already in the Raganuga, in the Anuraga stage, they are situated thousands of miles beyond unfavorable attempts. So they cannot do anything which will be unfavorable to their bhakti. So there is no way that they are transgressing or they are doing something wrong with the rules and regulations. That cannot be possible. Externally, the bhaktas on Anuraga path may seem to transgress certain rules and regulations, but it can never happen because all the rules are made to make devotional service favorable, and whatever those people in Anuraga Bhakti are doing, that is completely favorable to devotional service. Like yesterday also Mataji was giving examples, like we know that when there was one Mataji who was cooking khichdi with the stick, and she was also brushing with the same stick. These externally, it may look as though they are transgressing all the rules, but it is not so because they are completely in alignment with the practice of devotional service. This is what Prabhupada Saraswati is stressing to us. And he says, those foolish materialistic persons who, due to material conceptions, are unable to understand service on the path of Anuraga, become averse to the service of Krishna. So, no one should judge such people, because then we will become averse to the service of Krishna. That is why the verse Apichetsu Duracharo has appeared in Sri Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. So even if one commits the most abominable activity, if he is continuing to engage in devotional service, he is considered saintly by Krishna himself. Why? Because he is firmly situated. He is situated in complete determination. Because of this, he is considered a saint by the Supreme Lord himself. So who are we all to judge somebody? This does not, but again, Prabhupada Saraswati is warning us. He's saying, this does not mean that a sinful life full of selfishness and perversion can be accepted as spontaneous devotional service. But without understanding this, the Prakrita Sahajiyas, who are attached to material enjoyment, revolt against the pure devotees and pure devotional service, and thus traverse the path to hell. So at the same time, it should not be the opposite. That a person commits on all kinds of sinful activities, and he claims himself to be in the Anuraga stage. That is wrong. The topics of regulative devotional service and its concomitant rules and regulations that Sri Vedavyasa has described in the Smritis and Puranas are properly illustrated in the character of Sri Gaurasundara and his matchless servants. This is such a beautiful purport. So now we'll go to this beautiful verse, Smartavya Satatam Vishnur, Vismartavya na jatuchit, Sarve vidhi nishedasyor, etayoreva kinkaraha. We'll learn a little bit more about this verse. So this verse also appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 22nd chapter, where Mahaprabhu is talking about the process of devotional service to Sanatana Goswami. So this is a very small purport, but it is so beautifully written by Srila Prabhupada. So we'll just read this purport. This verse is a quotation from Padma Purana. There are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle, that is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. This is possible when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours daily. One may have other duties to perform under the direction of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have recommended that the neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary if one wants to remember Krishna and not forget him. Of all the regulative principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. One may sell books or enlist life members or render some other service, but these duties are not ordinary duties. These duties serve as an impetus for remembering Krishna. When one goes with a Sankirtan party or sells books, he naturally remembers that he is going to sell Krishna's books. In this way, he is remembering Krishna. When one goes to enlist a life member, he talks about Krishna and thereby remembers Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnur, mismartavya na jatuchit. The conclusion is that one must act in such a way that he will always remember Krishna, and one must refrain from doing things that make him forget Krishna. These two principles form the basic background of Krishna consciousness. So, we see how Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing on the fact that we have to chant our rounds properly, and this is the basic foundation for us remembering Krishna constantly. Then we have in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when Srila Rupa Goswami says something very similar. He says, Yena tena prakarena manah Krishne niveshayet sarve vidhi nishedhasyor etayoreva kinkaraha. Yena tena prakarena. By any means, manah Krishne niveshayet. Fix your mind on Krishna. Then all the rules and regulations will become a servant to this one particular act. So, and this remembering of Krishna can be unfavorable or favorable, as we know. Unfavorable is done by all our demons. They also remember Kamsa, Shishupala. They also remember Krishna all the time, but it is very unfavorable. And so Krishna takes care of them also. He gives them Sahajya Mukti, and then there is a path for them from there. But then we should remember Krishna favorably. So for this, I took out some Srila Prabhupada's letters in which he talks about remembering Krishna. These are just a few I will read. Here and there, I picked some things. The Prabhupada says, we can remember Krishna in every moment. We can remember Krishna while taking a glass of water because the taste of water is Krishna. We can remember Krishna as soon as we see the sunlight in the morning because the sunlight is a reflection of Krishna's bodily effulgence. Similarly, as soon as we see the moonlight in the evening, we remember Krishna because moonlight is also a reflection of sunlight. Similarly, when we hear any sound, we can remember Krishna because sound is Krishna. And the most perfect sound, transcendental, is Hare Krishna, which we have to chant 24 hours. So, there is no scope of forgetting Krishna at any moment of our life, provided we practice in this way. Then in one more letter, Srila Prabhupada writes, regarding your first question, is it offensive to think of Krishna's pastime while chanting? I think you should know that it is not offensive, but rather it is required. Excuse me. One must try for the point when he simply hears Krishna and immediately all of Krishna, his pastimes, his form, his quality are in his thoughts. So to always be immersed in thoughts of Krishna, this is our process. When we are full in Krishna, then where there can be any chance for Maya in us, so this is our duty to remember Krishna's pastimes. Always remember Krishna, who is your dearmost friend, and always serve him just to please him. He will give you all the intelligence how to be a first-class devotee. Krishna consciousness means to be always remembering Krishna, and we are always thinking how we can do something nice to please Krishna with some service or other, or we are reading literature about Krishna or speaking about Krishna. In this way, we are always remembering Krishna, and that is our natural conscious state. This way, there are many things I'll not read since we have a lot to cover. Then Prabhupada says, do not waste any time, but work always to please Krishna within your heart. He is witnessing everything. He only wants us to remember him constantly. Is it very difficult? This is what Prabhupada is asking us. It was difficult for me. Anyways. Then we see in Bhishma Deva's prayer how he says, at the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, Parthasarathi, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. So this was Bhishma Deva's prayers to remember Krishna at the time of death. And of course, he was remembering Krishna constantly. Then we see how Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. This is after he gets the boon from Krishna. He rules for a very long period, and his brother Uttama dies. He's killed by some yakshas. And so Dhruva Maharaja goes and he starts a huge battle with the yakshas. And he starts killing, over the time, he starts killing those yakshas, so many in number that it becomes a little excessive. At that time, Swayambhuva Manu comes and pacifies Dhruva Maharaja and asks him to stop this fight. And then Dhruva Maharaj immediately stops the fight. And Prabhupada says this is the quality of a Vaishnava, that he immediately learns his mistake and corrects it. And at that time, Kuvera, who is the leader of the Yakshas, comes there being pleased with Dhruva Maharaj. And he says, ask for any benediction. And Dhruva Maharaj at that time says, this is also explained by Prabhupada in purport. Kuvera is the treasurer of all the demigods. So Dhruva Maharaj could have asked for anything materially. He doesn't ask that. And also spiritually, Dhruva Maharaj is in a much higher position than Kuvera. But still, the benediction which Dhruva Maharaj asks Kuvera is, can I constantly remember the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord? This is the benediction which Dhruva Maharaj asks. So that is so important to constantly remember Krishna. And we see various personalities who were playing very important roles in the world. It's not like they were renunciants and they had the privilege to always remember Krishna. No, they were performing very important duties, and still they were constantly remembering Krishna. Like we have Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj was following all the religious principles very rigidly. He was following them, and he performed various yajnas just to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it was very clear in his mind. He was not performing yajnas to please demigods. He was doing it to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that his citizens could live happily. And he always had a very undisturbed mind. And he was always remembering Krishna, and he performed his devotional service. And he kept Vasudeva constantly in his heart while he was doing his external duties. Then we have King Priyavrata. Priyavrata didn't even want to become a part of these material activities, but his father Swayambhuva Manu convinces him, his grandfather Brahmaji convinces him, and he comes to rule the whole world. And how beautifully was he ruling the entire world? And at the same time, he was constantly thinking of Krishna. He was an exemplary king and an exemplary devotee at the same time. And of course, we have Prahlad Maharaj, who is considered the foremost example. So when one of the limbs of devotional service, remembering Lord Krishna, is quoted, immediately Prahlad Maharaj's name comes. Prahlad Maharaj was constantly thinking of Krishna. Then we have this pastime where Jarasandha gets killed. And he had imprisoned around 20,800 kings. And when after Jarasandha was killed, all these kings get released. And they come, and they were very emaciated by hunger. They were shabbily dressed. They appeared very dirty. And they came and they saw Lord Krishna standing there. And immediately they seemed to drink his beauty with their eyes. They seemed to lick him with their tongue. They seemed to relish his fragrance with their nostrils. And they seemed to embrace him with their arms. So these things they did mentally, thinking of him. And by these actions, all their past sins were eradicated. And they started offering beautiful prayers to the Supreme Lord. And one of their prayer was, please tell us how we may constantly remember your lotus feet. So they saw the Supreme Lord. And then again, their question is, how can we remember you all the time? How can we remember your lotus feet all the time? And in this purport, actually, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they write, one can constantly remember the Lord only by his mercy. And they quote Bhagavad Gita 8:14. Ananyas chintayantoma Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. For one who always remembers me without deviation, tasyaham sulabha partha. I am very easily obtainable. So this is the result of constant remembrance. So, and this constant remembrance is a symptom of love of Godhead. So for someone who is in that position of spontaneous affection and love, it comes spontaneously. He's always remembering the Lord, his holy name, his pastimes, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. It's always going in his mind. And my Srila Gurudev blesses, this is the benediction he gives everybody. This is the mercy he shows on everybody. All the time he blesses us saying, Krishna matirastu. May you be Krishna conscious. Let your attention be on Krishna. And one stage higher blessing which he gives is, he says, Krishna mati ruhu. May you always be Krishna conscious. And of late, Srila Gurudev has become so merciful. He says, Koti Koti Bar. Every day after class, he says, Krishna Matirastu, Koti Koti Bar. So this is the benedictions which Acharyas give us, because constant remembrance of Krishna is Krishna consciousness. That is Krishna consciousness. So by all the Acharya's mercies, we will somehow get there someday. We'll move on with our verses. Text 146. Mudra nahi kare vipra. Sorry, I lost my notes. Yes. Sorry, so sorry for this. Mudra nahi kare vipra na dila apane tathapi tandula prabhu khaila yatane. The Brahmana did not offer the rice with mudras. Nor did he even offer it. The rice was in his bag and he was dancing. But still the Lord eagerly took it and ate it. विषयमदन्ध सबाये मर्म न जाने सुत धन कुल मदे Vaishnava न चीने. Persons who are blinded by the pride of material enjoyment cannot understand this mystery. Intoxicated by their children, wealth, and family prestige, they cannot recognize a Vaishnava. So unfortunately, people like me, who are blinded by the pride of material enjoyment, cannot even recognize a Vaishnava. But those Vaishnava's offerings, the Lord accepts even without they offering it. He takes it, he snatches it from them and eats it. देखी मूर्ख दरिद्र ये वैष्णवे रहासे तारा पूजा वित्त कबू कृष्णेर नवासे. Krishna never accepts the offerings and worship of one who ridicules a Vaishnava, considering him foolish or poor. So this is a beautiful purport given by Prabhupada Saraswati. So we'll try to, I've tried my best. I hope I do some justification to this purport where every word is so beautifully written. Every sentence has so much of meaning. So we'll try. I'll try. And after the class, all of you can share your realizations. By Sri Gaurasundara's ascertainment of the topmost platform of Raganuga as the ultimate goal of regulative devotional service, it is understood that the glories and sweetness of Anuraga is situated beyond all arrangements in the path of Archana. Those who think themselves highly advanced in sensually acquired knowledge invite their own destruction by analyzing Vaishnavas from a materialistic point of view. So we know in Nectar of Devotion also Srila Rupa Goswami says sadhana bhakti begins with Vaidhi bhakti and progresses to Raganuga bhakti. So those devotees who are in the level of Raganuga, they have identified their mellow and they are following somebody in Ragatmika. Like some Ragatmika devotees are the Vrajvasis, who are the eternal associates of the Supreme Lord, and they have their own mellows. So these Raganuga Bhaktas are in the footsteps of those Ragatmika Bhaktas. They are that high. So, and they are way beyond the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. But if a materialistic person, he sees some defect in such a person, he is inviting his own destruction, because the Lord says, I will not accept from them. And it is a very destructive path. So that should not be done. And again, in Srila Rupa Goswami warns us in Nectar of Instruction also how we should never see a Vaishnava externally and judge him. And the example which Srila Rupa Goswami quotes is like Ganges in the rainy season will be filled with mud, foam, bubbles, everything. But person who knows the sanctity of the holiness of Ganges will not hesitate to take his dip in the Ganges even during this time. But a foolish person will call Ganga polluted because of these externals. So we should never judge a person, judge a devotee by his externals. And we'll continue. Although such people blinded by the pride of material enjoyment may beget many children, may become greatly prosperous, and may take birth in respectable families, they cannot understand that only a Vaishnava can become a guru. So Prabhupada Saraswati says only a Vaishnava can become a guru. Why is this? Because we know, again, Nectar of Instruction, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. Jihva vegam udhara upastha vegam. Etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha. Sarvam api mam prithvim sa shishyat. Who can make a disciple? One who has controlled the urges of vacha, speech, manasa, mind, urges of mind, krodha, he's controlled his anger, and then jihva, udhara, upastha, tongue, belly, and genitals. These urges are also controlled. So who else but a Vaishnava can control these urges? How? Because how does he control his speech? I was some time back. I heard from one of my cousin that this is in India. She had gone to attend one camp, some organization, some so-called spiritual organization, where they were doing a camp of silence, and they were supposed to register, pay lots of money, register, and be in that place without talking for a long time. And my cousin was saying how it was such a big torture to her, and she didn't even mind the amount of money she paid, and she came out in 2 days saying, I'm done, I can't be without talking. So it is very difficult for a person to forcibly not talk, but a Vaishnava can do it. Why? Because he will talk only about Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada also in this purport, he says how talking other than Krishna is like croaking of a frog. So a Vaishnava will control his urge to speak by talking only about Krishna. How does he control his mind? By fixing his mind on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. We talked about constant remembrance. That is his position. He's always constantly thinking of Krishna. So anger, there is no external anger for him. For us, anger is dhyayato vishayan pumsah. When we think of sense object, there is desire to satisfy our senses with those sense objects, and when that doesn't happen, we have anger. But for a Vaishnava, anger is when there is something wrong happening in the service to the Lord. At that time, he shows his anger. So there is complete control of anger. Jihva, udhara, upastha, vegam. All these are controlled. All the senses are controlled. Tongue is controlled. So only a Vaishnava can become a guru. So this is what our Prabhupada Saraswati is declaring here. Traditions like the artificial worship and giving of initiation that are found in the families of acharyas are simply blindness due to pride. That is why the concepts found in the philosophy of the caste Goswamis are unable to define a Vaishnava. So just by birthright, no one can call himself a Brahmana or a Goswami. After prolonged study of Vedas, learned scholars
Mataji's video is frozen. Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Actually, I think Mataji's connection she has lost her connection. Mataji may rejoin again. We can wait.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I'm so sorry. Can you I joined by phone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. That's correct, Mataji.
Just a second. I'm so sorry. My internet is little on and off today. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Please continue, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
No, apologies for that. Okay. So, a poor Vaishnava's offering of everything is proof that he is freed from greed for objects not related to Krishna. Therefore, until one becomes an unalloyed Vaishnava, he cannot satisfy Krishna. So, a qualification of a Vaishnava is not what he offers, it is he offers everything, and that offering is free from greed for objects not related to Krishna. So now Vaishnavas, they offer everything. So we saw on Monday, his Grace Govardhan Giri Prabhuji was stressing this point, such a beautiful point. He was saying, Sudama Vipra, he offering those few handful of puffed rice was significant to Krishna because that was way beyond what he actually possessed. So that is the quality of a Vaishnava. More than what they possess, they offer to Krishna. So that is the beauty. And for this, the immediate example which comes is Kolavecha Sridhar. Right? So Kolavecha Sridhar was a very poor poor person. He used to sell these banana leaves, bananas, banana stem and all that. He would just pluck from a garden nearby and sell it to people. And whatever income he would get, 50% he would donate in the worship of Ganges, and the other 50% he would use for himself. And he lived in a very broken small hut. He hardly would eat anything. And at the whole night, he was such an elevated devotee. Whole night he would sit and chant. And he would cry. He would shed torrents of tears thinking of Krishna. And his neighbors would mistake this as he's crying because he is so hungry and he's not eaten anything, so he's crying. That's what his neighbors would mistake it for. Okay. And this Kolavecha Sridhar was so dear to Mahaprabhu. Every morning, Mahaprabhu would come to his stall and they would have an argument for 1.5 hours. Every day, Mahaprabhu would argue with him, saying, "Oh, your prices are too high. You are so expensive compared to all the other sellers." And Kolavecha Sridhar would go, "No, Nimai, this is not the case. You ask everybody in Navadvip. Everybody comes, just buys my product and goes, but you are one person who keeps arguing with me." And they would have such a tiff, and Mahaprabhu would collect all his products and Kolavecha Sridhar would snatch everything from him. And during this process, he would even show Mahaprabhu. And at the end, still Mahaprabhu would take everything and give just half the price and walk away. And Kolavecha Sridhar would just gaze at Mahaprabhu's beauty and would give up everything. So this is the beautiful interaction between such Akinchana devotees and the Supreme Lord. Then we have one more personality, Bali Maharaj. He was made a Kinchana by the Supreme Lord. He possessed everything. He was even ruling the heavenly planets when Vamana Deva comes as a small Brahmana, beautiful, very beautiful dwarf Brahmana boy. Vamana Deva comes and he asks for 3 pieces of land. And when this was granted, it's a big pastime. When this was granted by Bali Maharaj, with 1 pace, he covers the entire earth. He becomes Trivikrama, and 1 pace he covers the earth. 1 pace he covers the entire upper planetary systems, even brings Ganga at that time. And he comes back to his original position and asks, "Now, what shall I do for my 3rd piece?" So then this Bali Maharaj, who possessed everything before this, now had nothing. He didn't have any material possession because everything was taken up by the Supreme Lord. But then he offered himself to the Lord now for the third phase. And Bali Maharaj displayed tolerance and equanimity in humiliation. These are the symptoms of true surrender. Vamanadeva profusely praised Bali Maharaj for this forbearance. So, this is the beautiful pastime of Bali Maharaj. He became a Kinchana by the Supreme Lord, but still he had something to offer to the Supreme Lord, that is himself. And the Supreme Lord accepts it and then gives himself in return to Bali Maharaj. So we, in his song, his composition, Sharanagati, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Manasa deho geho jo kichu mora, arpitu tuva pade nanda kishora. So mind, body, family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. So this is what great Vaishnavas offer to the Supreme Lord. And for us, Srila Rupa Goswami again has given a beautiful verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is a prayer which we can learn. It is Kamadinam katina katidha palita durnideshas tesham jatamaina karuna na tripa nopashantihi utsrujyaitan atha yadupate sampratam labdha buddhis tvam ayatah sharanam abhayam mam niyukshasvatmadasye. So the translation is, "Oh my Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. Although I have rendered them so much service, they have not shown any mercy to me. I have not been ashamed to serve them, nor have I even desired to give them up. Oh my Lord, O head of the Yadu dynasty, recently, however, my intelligence has been awakened, and now I am giving them up. Due to transcendental intelligence, I now refuse to obey the unwanted orders of those desires, and I now come to you to surrender myself to your fearless lotus feet. Kindly engage me in your personal service and save me." It's such a beautiful prayer. I don't know if I'm even qualified to say that because I have not left my sense gratification yet, but this is a beautiful prayer which Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. I'll continue with the purport. So, yeah, Prabhupada Saraswati says, in this regard, one should discuss the two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. The first verse is, Yesham sa esha bhagavan dayayed anantaha sarvatmana shrita pado yadi nirvyalikam te dushtaram atitaranti cha deva maya naisha mamaham iti dhihi swasrugala bhakshye. But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so. So, by seeing our unalloyed surrender, then he favors us to cross the ocean of Maya. So, even in 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says, he acknowledges how insurmountable this Maya is. He says, Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama Maya duratyaya. Mameva ye prapadyante maya metam taranti. Only by surrendering to me, you can think of crossing over this illusion. And then the second verse, which Prabhupada Saraswati is quoting here is, Yasyaham anugrahnami harishye tad dhanam shanaihi tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukkha dukkhitam. If I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. This again is from 10, Canto 88th chapter, 8th verse. It's a beautiful purport for this. I will just read a few lines here or there. Devotees of the purport is by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Devotees of the Supreme Lord experience both happiness and distress, not as consequences of material work, but as incidental effects of their loving reciprocation with the Lord. The devotional service to Lord Krishna eradicates all karmic reactions. While it is certainly true that those who practice devotional service remain in material bodies and apparently material situations for some time, this is simply an expression of the inconceivable mercy of the Lord, who bestows the fruits of devotion only when it has become pure. In every stage of devotion, the Lord watches over his devotee and sees to the gradual elimination of his karma. Thus, despite the fact that the happiness and distress devotees experience, despite the fact that the happiness and distress devotees experience resemble ordinary karmic reactions, they are in fact given by the Lord himself. But if the Lord is so compassionate to his devotees, why does he expose them to special suffering? This is answered by an analogy. A very affectionate father takes the responsibility of restricting his children's play and making them go to school. He knows that this is a genuine expression of his love for them, even if the children fail to understand. And then the beloved devotees of the Lord do not regard as very troublesome the suffering he imposes on them. Indeed, they find that in the end, it gives rise to unlimited pleasure, just as stinging ointment applied by a physician cures his patient's infected eye. So when we put an ointment, it stings, but then it is the cure. So that is how the sufferings which a devotee goes through is. And then this verse has been, Srila Prabhupada has, in his Leelamrita, he feels this was what was done to him by the Supreme Lord. He quotes this verse often. So I'll just read that paragraph from Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita. In 1948, Abhay closed his Lucknow factory. He had fallen behind his employees' salaries, and since 1946, he had been paying past rent in installments. But when sales dropped off, continuing the factory became impossible. He lost everything. Srila Prabhupada says, I started a big laboratory in Lucknow. Those were golden days. My business flourished like anything. Everyone in the chemical business knew. But then, gradually, everything dwindled. With the help of some acquaintances in Allahabad, he opened a small factory there in the same city where his Prayag pharmacy had failed 15 years before. He moved to Allahabad with his son Vrindavan and continued manufacturing medicines, while the rest of the family remained at Banerjee Lane in Calcutta. Abhay continued his traveling, but now he was often away for months at a time. And then he had the dream a second time. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati appeared before him. Again he was beckoning, indicating that Abhay should take sannyasa. And again Abhay had to put the dream aside. He was a householder with many responsibilities. To take sannyasa would mean to give up everything. He had to earn money. He now had 5 children. Why is Guru Maharaja asking me to take sannyasa? He thought. It was not possible now. The Allahabad business was unsuccessful. At present, the condition of our business is not very good. He wrote his servant Gauranga, who had asked to rejoin him. When the condition gets better, and if you are free at that time, I will call you. As with everything else, Abhay saw his present circumstances through the eyes of scripture, and he could not help but think of the words from Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyaham anugrahnami harishye tadhanam shanai. He had heard Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati quote this verse, and now he thought of it often. He took it that his present circumstances were controlled by Lord Krishna, who was forcing him into a helpless position, freeing him for preaching Krishna consciousness. Something which we can remember. We'll quickly continue the purport. So Vaishnavas always considered the concepts of attaining material objects to be as insignificant as the concepts found in the state of dream, and the attainment of perishable objects to be as insignificant as the state of awakening in the material world. So for them, it's very insignificant. Like we all know, Sanatana Goswami, he had a touchstone in his trash pile. So material objects are of no concern to them. Therefore, they are always situated far away from material enjoyers who resemble the Prakritya Sahajiyas. But on seeing the opulences of foremost devotees like Pundarika Vidyanadi and Raya Ramananda, the materialist's observation of materialistic tendencies in such devotees' sensual activities increases their bewilderment. So just to increase the bewilderment of materialistic people, we have great personalities like Pundarika Vidyanidhi and Ramananda Raya. Pundarika Vidyanidhi, we know, was such an elevated devotee. And he was externally, but he lived a very opulent, materially opulent, luxurious life. And people would mistake him. And Ramananda Raya was a garner of Vidyanagar, and later he became a minister under the regime of King Prataparudra. So, but these are all their externals. Internally, what they are, only the true devotees could perceive them. This is because they are blinded by the intoxication of sense enjoyment. The conviction that Krishna is the only object of enjoyment, there is no object of enjoyment other than him, is most desirable for the devotees of Vishnu. Under the influence of such greed, those who are enthusiastic about Krishna's form, qualities, associates, characteristics, and pastimes attain auspiciousness due to have worshipped Vasudeva in hundreds of previous births. And having taken shelter of the holy names, they receive the opportunity to display their exemplary process of worship on the path of Anuraga. So I hope I did some justice to Prabhupada Saraswati's beautiful purport. You can all add later. Just a few more verses I'll cover quickly. That Sri Hari is controlled only by his devotees and does not even accept the worship of non-devotee is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. Na bhajati kumani shinam sa ijyam harir adhanatma dhana priya rasognyah shruta dhana kula karmanam madairye vidadhati papam akinchaneshu satsu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. Those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, fruitive activity are very proud of possessing material things, and they often deride the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. So even Queen Kunti says, Namo akinchana vittaya nivritta guna vrittaye atma ramaya shantaya kaivalya pataye namaha. He is the property of materially impoverished. He is so, and people may be puffed up with so many material things, and if they offer, the Lord never accepts them. Akinchana prana Krishna sarva vede gaya sakshate goranga ye tahara dekhaya. All the Vedas sing Krishna is the life and soul of those who have no material possessions, and Gauranga personally demonstrated this. This purport is so beautiful. I'll read it. Krishna is like the life and soul of those Akinchanas who have no attachment for any object in this world. This fact is sung by all the Vedas and literatures in pursuance of the Vedas. Gaura Sundara was the Acharya and preacher of that confidential Vedic truth. Through his devoted servants, the Lord revealed the insignificance of material conceptions and expertise in abstracting the essence of Vedas. Now this, Prabhupada, the Saraswati gives us a beautiful benediction here. He says, those who hear topics about the pastimes of Shuklambara and Gaura Sundara have undergone the samskara of piercing their spiritual ears, and while rendering loving service at the feet of Chaitanya Deva, they become known as Gaudiyas in the form of beggars in the temple of devotional service. So the benediction is, this past 1 week, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we all could, by mercy of so many devotees, we could hear the pastime of Shuklambar Brahmachari. And by that, we have gone through the samskara of piercing our spiritual ears. And Prabhupada Saraswati is accepting us as Gaudiya, as beggars in the temple of devotional service. But while identifying themselves as Gaudiyas, they do not try to commit suicide by remaining far away from the service of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet and thereby becoming averse to the service of Govinda. So the benediction has been given, but what should we do? We should serve Chaitanya Deva. How? What was Chaitanya Deva's instruction? Yare dekhe tare kaho Krishna Upadesha. That should be done. Then we will not become averse to the service of Govinda. Shuklambhara Tandula Bhojana Yehi Shune Sei Prema Bhakti Paya Chaitanya Charani. One who hears about how the Lord ate Shuklambhara's rice attains unalloyed devotional service at the feet of Lord Chaitanya. Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jana Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Padya Yuge Kana. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Dasa, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus, in the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on Sri Caitanya Bhagavata Madhya Kanda, chapter 16, entitled The Lord's Acceptance of Shuklambara's Rice. Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Matajis, for patiently listening.
Okay, that's submitted from class. You can't be done.
Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful, wonderful class, Mataji, for so many references. Thank you so much, Mataji. We really very greedy to be the means there is a long way for me to go. So, but God, the design is one to be the Gaudiya and beggar in the temple of devotional service. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing all the nectarian kathas. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. We just need to listen. That's all, right? Our acharyas have given us everything. They give us everything, and they also bless us. We just need to have that humility to hear. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. If you have any questions or realization, please go ahead.
Mataji's not like just realizations.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Thank you so much. Very, very beautiful class with so many references and examples of so many devotees who exemplified this. The different verses that you quoted, how you quoted verses even from Bhaktiras Samrat Sindhu. Everything was very beautiful, and you were talking about piercing the ears. So for the 1 week we have been doing it, and very glad to today we could hear the final part of the piercing. The and
So beautiful benediction, right, Mataji?
thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for reading out all those different references and instilling the faith in our hearts. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hope it was not boring. I read from so many purports. Thank you so much.
No, Mataji, it affirms a lot of confirmations. So thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Without your help, I'll be nowhere, Mataji. So very much indebted to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, that prayer you said, Rupa Goswami's prayer, from where can we find it? Mataji, you said it is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also.
Yes.
So where can I find that, Mataji?
Yes, Chaitanya
Sorry.
Charitamrita. I'll share, Mataji. I'll send in the group or I'll tell you.
Okay, Mataji, sure. Thank you, Mataji.
I put things everywhere. Sorry. I'm a little not so organized person. Yes,
No,
Mataji.
Mataji, I don't know how you are maintaining. You are taking out so many references, Srila Prabhupada's letters you read, and many, many books, also many slokas you referred. Thank you so much, Mataji. You are taking us to different scriptures through your classes. Always, you are giving the classes by referring so many scriptures. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, I could do it better. Technically, I'm still there, Mataji. Mataji, that is 20-16. Madhya Leela 20-16. And it comes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Okay, Mataji, thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Can I end,
Okay,
Mataji?
Mataji, I don't see any more questions. So, Amrita Radhika Mataji is thanking you for the wonderful class, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so
And
much.
Sumi Mataji is also thanking you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your blessings. Please keep me in your prayers.
Radhika Mataji is also thanking you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
So, is it okay, Mataji? With your permission, can we end the call here, Mataji? Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for an enlightening class today, and we will look forward for your association again and again in the future. Dear devotees, let's pay our obeisances to Mataji. Vancha kalpa tarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha. Caitanya Bhagavatam की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, HG Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji की जय.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti Ratan.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.